Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right, so we'll start the quiz. So good afternoon all, and welcome to the animals quiz set and presented by me, Tanmay Roy, under the aegis of WQIT. So again and again, special thanks to Abhinav Dhar and Prithviraj for allowing me to host this quiz, and thank you all genuinely for turning up in such large numbers. So we'll start with the prelims, and here are the rules. There are 20 questions in the prelims. So you can see in your one second. So you can see in your sheet, the Google Docs sheet, that question 5, 10, 15, and 20 are star mark. So they will only be considered once there is a tie and we need to break a tie. So there are, it isn't written here, but I guess top 8 teams will be selected. This was conveyed before, I believe. But anyways, so if there's a tie, the star mark questions will be seen first. If the tie persists, then first 5 questions will be seen, and the team with more characters in that goes through. So once there's a tie, so even the star mark questions are tie, let's say. So the first 5 questions will be seen, and the team which has more characters in them will go through. The next point is pretty obvious. No googling, no cheating in any form tolerated. I'll run through the quiz, and later on we'll do a quick rerun. Vision the QM is final. So all the best, everyone. I hope you all have the teams. Any more queries, you can let me know in the audio. I guess good to go. So we can start the quiz. Here we go. So the first question is, India, the name and the region, does find its mention in the Old Testament Bible. In Esther 1:1 and 8:9, these are the chapters, it is the eastern boundary of the Persian Empire under Ahasuerus in the 5th century BC. While the other explicit mention is in Maccabees 6:37, with reference to several professionals or experts from India who were employed by Antiochus III the Great to aid in his war efforts. So this is around 2nd and 3rd century BC. Who were these Indian professionals? Who were these Indian professionals in question? These Indian experts. There is an animals quiz, remember. So this is Antiochus III the Great, was quite famous for having certain kind of army, and which he used in war and battle. So because of that, he employed a lot of professionals from India in this. Who are these Indian professionals? I just won in who were employed by Antiochus III the Great. One word is all I need. You need to give me that one word. Alternatively, you can explain it, but I think if you know it, you know that one word. Right? Should we move to the next question? Question number 2 coming up. So Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to Top Gun that released in 1986, released this year with much fanfare and accolades. It follows the story of Maverick, played by Tom Cruise, who is hired by the US Navy to train a group of Super Hornet aviators as an urgent mission to bomb an unsanctioned uranium enrichment. One of the characters is Lieutenant Bradley Bradshaw, played by Miles Teller, with call sign Rooster. Now, that's quite interesting because he's the son of Nick Bradshaw, the character in the earlier film, who dies in the previous film during a failed flight ejection. Now, the question is not to do with Top Gun actually. It's that given Nick's call sign from the earlier film, combined with the fact that Bradley is Nick's child, more scientifically speaking, his offspring, what could have also been the nickname of Lieutenant Bradley? So Lieutenant Bradley is Nick Bradshaw's son, which means an offspring, if one were to follow the basic nomenclature laws of this species. Basically, I want, if you know the call sign name of Nick Bradshaw from the 1986 Top Gun film, so imagine that, and that has a baby or an offspring. So what could it be? Hint is, and it's a big hint, it's also the surname, not the first name of a famous Hollywood star. So again, I need just one word. I just need one word. Vijay already admitted you to enter the video. Right. So I hope the question is clear. Just try to remember Nick Bradshaw's call sign from the last film. And if you have seen the new film, Miles Teller plays his son, and he's given the nickname Rooster, somewhat keeping the same lines of name calling from his father. But it would be much more appropriate if he is given a different call sign name, which is also the surname of a famous Hollywood star. Like it just matches. The Hollywood star doesn't have to do anything with the animal part, but it obviously it matches. Should we move to the question number 3? Question number 3 coming up. Whose face is hidden in the white here? See my arrow? Whose face is hidden? Like everything you need is there in the question. Seen here posing with his kids. Everything you need to figure out is there in the question, in the picture, more precisely. Whose face is hidden here? Right, so question number 4 coming up. It is a euphemism for drunken hallucination and onset of confusion. It results in visualizing things incorrectly due to acute alcohol intoxication or withdrawal. American novelist Jack London used this expression in his book John Barleycorn in 1913, but was popularized years later by a Disney film. Years later, as in from 1930. What expression? Which film? If you want, I can tell you how many words are there precisely in that expression. What expression and which film? Half and half. So in certain questions, like question number 1 to 15 are 1 pointer, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 are 2 pointers. In some questions in the Google Sheets, you will find more than 2 spaces for answers. So there are 3 answers required. I'll tell you what to do there when we get there. But in these questions, even there are 2 options, right? So it's only for half and half. So it's 1 pointer. You'll get half points for first one, half points for the film. It's 3 words that's required. For the expression, 3 words. The film, I won't say anything about the film. So question number 5, nutcrackers, as the name suggests, are tools designed to crack open nuts, right? Their designs mainly include liver, screws, and ratchets. These are the design types. So there's a liver kind of nutcracker based on the liver design, a screw design, and a ratchet design. What we are concerned about here is the liver design, the liver version, which finds its use elsewhere as well. Elsewhere as in apart from cracking open nuts. They are designed somewhat resembling a plier, but with the pivot point at the end beyond the nut, rather than in the middle. Where else are these versions of nutcracker used, which automatically makes this question eligible in an animal quiz? So essentially 2 names. Now you can find whatever I'm talking about in that. There's an animal quiz. So in that group, you can find other names as well, but these are mainly 2 names. So you have to write down a sentence, but in that sentence, there has to be 2 common nouns. In common nouns, I mean, animals. So what kind of common noun could be? And it is a nutcracker. It is not any other kind of cracker. Nutcracker, very much required. a different version of a nutcracker. It has to be kind of a plier, because imagine a plier holding a plier. You need to apply a more pressure in plier. Imagine holding a plier, the nutcracker like a plier, and then applying the pressure, a bit more pressure, if I may add.
Hey Tanmay, did you change the slide?
I know it's the same slide. Why?
I mean, I'm talking about the question regarding the. Oh yeah, now I can see.
Question regarding which one? Question 5 or 4?
Five. I couldn't see the slide. I thought it was stuck or something.
No.
Right.
Everyone else can see, right? I am on question number 5. Right. So read the second para again. It's a nutcracker. So the word cracker is there. That is what is coming in handy and making it eligible in an animals quiz. Should I move on? Question number 6. Right. So here you go. Question number 6. Right. So understand this question carefully. So in Friends, season 10, episode 5, Monica and Chandler are looking for someone to write them a letter of recommendation as required by the adoption agency. They are looking to adopt a baby, and the adoption agency has asked them a letter of recommendation from a friend. Since they are looking to adopt a baby, asking their friend Rachel to help out, they soon hand over the responsibility to another friend since he felt offended. So it's not Rachel, it's another friend. Why have I not mentioned his name? That would be coming in handy. So later on, while struggling to sound smart, Ross advises him to use the thesaurus for any word he would like while writing the letter of recommendation. Misunderstanding the advice, he instead used the thesaurus to replace every word in the letter to a more scientific synonym, thereby not making much sense as a sentence, such as they are warm, nice people with big hearts become they are humid, prepossessing Homo sapiens with full-sized aortic pumps. However, the letter of recommendation was completely rendered null, and only mainly because of this, when he used the thesaurus in place of his signature too, which he wrote dash, dash, and his surname. So dash, dash is essentially what I want. That's not his name. Now, if you know which friend am I talking about, all you need to know is his name. And he wrote his signature, right? He wrote a letter of recommendation. He wrote his signature. So his name and his surname would be in the signature. But the joke is that instead of using like writing his name itself, he used a thesaurus on his name as well. So what could it possibly show as? Just remember what the quiz is from every for every question and everything you have to figure out. A certain friend of Monica and Chandler, so it's not them, it's not Rachel, it's not Ross. Two of them are left, one of them used a thesaurus on every single word in the letter of recommendation. And he also used it while writing his signature. He used the letter thesaurus to write his name. But instead of his small name, I might add, he got these 2 words. So give me both the words, because only then it's very synonymously accurate in terms of the animal part that I'm looking for. Just let me again ask, I guess you guys will let me know if it's not working, but everybody can see the question clearly, right? There's no problem. One became humid, repossessing Homo sapiens. All you need to do is think about his name. The blanks are indicative throughout the quiz, prelims and mains. All I need from you are the blanks. So moving on to the next question. Question number 7 coming up. So the horse often finds its occurrence in the Rig Veda. On one occasion, the horse of Lord Indra has been described as "Come hither, Indra, with bay steeds, joyous with tails like dashes dash, alliterative." Since the long, strong hair is an important indicator of health and youthfulness, the horse's tail, thick with hairs, is described as a certain beautiful sight one might come across in nature. The blanks also finds further metaphorical usage of its other gender in the Rig Veda, since this time it's with respect to women. So obviously this is some sort of an animal, is something about an animal that we need, which is alliterative. Now the alliterative part, here's the thing. We also know the second blank, which makes this alliterative with some other names as well. But the one that I'm looking for is actually more accurate, like synonymously very accurate. So that makes it alliterative. But you can give me the other names as well, whatever, if you figure out whatever the first blank is based on that. Just 1 second. Right. So, and the fact is, since the horse's tail actually is flowing very lusciously with thick hairs, tall hairs, it looks sometimes very beautiful, like another beautiful sight in the animal kingdom, something we come across in nature. Now, whatever that is, whatever the name is, the first blank, it also has another gender, like the other gender of that animal. That also finds a metaphorical usage in Rig Veda, but with respect to women this time. Right? So if horse finds metaphorical usage, let's say horse was the answer, then mare would find a metaphorical usage with women. That's all that I've written here. So all you need to do is mainly focus on the third paragraph. Clear? Moving on to question number 8. Unicorn, or its symbol, plays a very important role in this film. This was after the director learned from experts about seals discovered from that place depicting animal heads of that of bison, antelope, tiger, and most frequently being unicorns. Within the film, the protagonist receives a seal with a unicorn inscription from his uncle before setting out on a destination to trade their family's goods. He often has dreams of a unicorn, and on reaching there, he realizes that it is a symbol of the city with which he feels oddly familiar. At the end of the film, when the city is drowned and no more, and the survivors migrate to another river, the protagonist sees the unicorn again and names the river Ganga. Which film from half a decade ago? Half a decade ago loosely, like don't go very strictly, around half a decade ago. If people need more hint, they can ask me for the exact year. I can tell them that. But you got to let me know that. So the third paragraph is taken from the film. These are events in the film, starting of the film. So the protagonist actually receives a seal with a unicorn inscription. His uncle gives him, and then he sets out on a destination to trade the family's goods. He wasn't allowed before, but then he somehow managed that we should go there somewhere to trade the family's goods. And there he often has dreams of a unicorn. And then he realizes that it is a symbol of a city with which he feels already familiar. So, and the first para is actually from real life. So this is because the director chose unicorn as a main symbol, is because unicorn seals have been discovered in abundance from a certain place. So I'm using a certain term, city, place, somewhere, destination. From there also you can get a certain idea that what could be this film half a decade ago. The name Ganga is there, so that should be obvious. It's an Indian film or film from outside. Which film from half a decade ago am I talking about? Right. So question number 9 coming up. So its name is derived from the ancient Greek word for the bird pictured, as was later attested by the physician Herophilus. The Greek word for the bird lent itself to its etymology due to the resemblance of the bird's beak to the curved shape of the last 3-4 bones forming the fag end of this anatomical structure or part. So what name? So by name, I mean certain anatomical structure or part. The name of it is actually derived from the Greek word for this bird, just the bird's name. But it's not randomly. You can see the beak of the bird as seen in the arrow. So that bird beak, the shape of that beak is quite similar to the last 3-4 bones from that line of bones, you can say, or from that structure or part in our anatomy. Just one word name is required. Try to figure out which bird it is. From there, work on that name. The beak of the bird is actually, shape of it is quite similar to the last 3-4 bones in our body. If you see the anatomical shape of that structure, the last 3-4 bones forms a certain that convex shape, quite similar to the beak of the bird. And this is why the Greeks named it after this bird. What anatomical structure or part of it? If somebody have something to say, or else you can mute. I'm not being able to see the chat very frequently. You can actually just for hints and all these things, no need to make a lot of ruckus, but just you can switch on the audio and tell me. That would be better. I'm not asking for the bird. I'm asking for the structure. If you have to figure out the bird. Otherwise, if you know this fact, you can also directly get to the structure. But the working out part will be figure out the bird, and from there try to work on the name of the bird to get to an anatomical structure or part. If you're looking for hints for some previous question or something, then let me know. Anybody who's joining in late, I'm so sorry. We had to start by 4:15, but we'll do a rerun. And for the ones who missed the first few questions, we'll go a little bit slower for the first few questions. Just a second. Yeah. So you have any doubt, want any hint or anything, let me know. So we'll move on to the question number 10. So Frances Cunningham Finch was a lady of intellectual brilliance and a gifted pianist. Born into a prosperous family, she attended one of the finest private schools in Alabama. Later on, she got married at age 19 and went on to have 4 kids, with the youngest being a daughter. She, however, developed a nervous disorder from an undiagnosed manic depression, and by the time her youngest daughter was born, she was thus emotionally inaccessible to her. This made her daughter naturally cling on to her dad, who she adored, and thus this episode from her life would go on to have a strong and lasting impact. She would, however, pay tribute to her mother by including her in the same context, including inverted comma, for a separate reason, I'll explain that, from above, the same context from above, that would shape her career, right? Above in the sense, not the first paragraph, the lasting impact, the first line of the second paragraph. So the tribute or inclusion would be in line with the other more major symbolism, both of which are from the same class of animal kingdom. So I don't just want whatever the lasting impact or whatever her daughter created, for which she was immortalized, something from there, if you focus closely, if you know that uh, through and through, and if you see the name of the lady at the every other description, you can figure it out. So since I've said it, I'll at least make that clear. When I say inclusion, I mean a very nominal inclusion. Nominal can mean two things, one of the two, but in this case, I think it's pretty obvious. Right. So for that, look at the last paragraph before in what manner did she immortalize her mother. In the tribute or inclusion would be in line with the other more major symbolism. The other more major symbolism is obviously the titular. It features in the title actually, and they are somewhat similar in the same class of animal kingdom. There are many symbolisms with that one particular class in the animal kingdom. One is the major one, if you know what I'm talking about, the titular one. The other was actually to pay tribute to her mother. The youngest daughter paid tribute to her mother in that same context that actually like shot her to fame and immortalized her. So which is why in that way she also immortalized her mother. So how did she immortalize her mother? You have to write this. There is a one keyword that I'm looking for. You have to pick that from the question itself and put it in the context which I'm talking about. But write it in a sentence, not explanation, but a little bit of a one sentence is required.
Hi, Tanmay.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Is this like kind of a fastest finger first, or is it like giving the correct answers?
Which one do you mean? I mean
The
the entire
quiz
quiz?
competition. Yes, yes.
No, fastest finger first. You have the Google Sheets form, right? To
Right,
write
we
down
do
the
that.
answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just have to fill out the answers and submit it once I tell you to
Okay,
submit.
all right.
After the quiz. So this is not a fastest fingers first. So tomorrow there will be the mains. The top 8 teams will be selected. Right. So I'll wait on this question for a little more while. Let me know if you need any hint or something. Not on chat, on audios or something. Please switch on the audio and ask for hints if you need hints. Otherwise, I'd consider nobody's requiring any hint. So the nominal part wasn't there. Now I have said it. It's a nominal inclusion. The youngest daughter included her mother's some way in something that would go on to shape her career more than anything. And hence, since her mother was included there, it would also immortalize her. If you know who Francis Cunningham Finch is, should I move on? Right, so question number 11 coming up. Question number 10 was star mark, by the way. 5, 10, 15, and 20 are star mark. Just remember that. After she was found dead on the floor, it ended her lineage. She was immediately frozen into a 300-pound block of ice and shipped to Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., where her body was carefully preserved as a taxidermy mount and an anatomical specimen. The specimen made from her remains is one of the most treasured possessions of the Smithsonian Institution and is on public display in the museum's Objects of Wonder exhibit. Its description is Ectopistes migratorius, collected September 1, 1914. It did not die in 1914, it died a few years before. Interestingly, her given name is the same as that of two of DC characters' mothers. So again, you know what kind of quiz this is. So the reason I've asked two parts, it's not two parts, just write it together. You have to give me a proper noun. So let's say if there's an animal you have named it something, give me that noun, because this name is popular in the sense that it's also same as the mother's names of two DC characters, two major DC characters. And what given name and what species am I talking about? Like what is this description is of a certain species, its lineage ended with her particular date. So the answer would be something like Tanmay Roy, human being, or Homo sapiens, something like that. Those who are joining in late, please write down the answers from wherever you are. I'll do the repeat for the first 9-10 questions. I'll go a little bit slow. Which species am I talking about? Two words are there which are alliterative. That you have to give, and also what given name. Right? Should I move on? Right. So here comes question number 12. Right. Shown here is one of only two species that can roll into a ball. It is indigenous to one particular country, also stated in its name, if you give me the full name, and lives just south of the equator. Despite not having much threats from predators, barring pumas and jaguars, due to its defense system, they have still suffered a sharp decline in population of up to 30 to 40% in the past decade. This was due to the destruction of their habitat. Therefore, in order to bring worldwide attention to this vulnerable species, the country grasped at an opportunity when provided itself from the past decade and made this animal seen or known worldwide. Which animal? For that, you don't need to give me the full name, even though I've explained it in the first paragraph. There is a country name in it, and there is a numerical part in the name, alphanumeric. You don't have to give me all that, just give me the one-worded name of the animal, the basic common name. How did the country bring worldwide attention to this animal? In that, you have to write down a little bit. It's a proper noun as well, but if you figure out what I'm talking about, then you can write down the answer properly there. That would be a few keywords there in the second part. So again, half and half. From the past decade itself, the country found an opportunity, a major opportunity, and they said, right, so this is a great opportunity for the world to see us. So we'll also show this animal and make sure that this animal gets the due attention because its numbers are dwindling. How did they do that? If you know the full name, it's called the country's name, their numeric part, along with the word, and then the name of the animal. You don't need to give me all that. Just give me the name of the animal. And how did the country manage to bring worldwide attention to this animal? Right. Should we move on? Question number 13 coming up. So understand this question carefully. I'll read it, then I'll explain it. So Would I Lie to You is a comedy game show hosted by Rob Brydon, with comedians Lee Mack and David Mitchell as captains of teams on either side. Guests who are invited join both teams and tell their embarrassing stories, forming a comic panel. It also includes a section where the host brings out a mystery person with each member of one team. In one team, there are three people actually, identifying him or her as part of their story, with only one being true. thus confusing the other team to choose the critter. So for those who don't know, let me explain this quickly. So there are two teams, one headed by one headed by David Mitchell, the other headed by Lee Mack, and there are two guests each on both the teams. So there is a mystery guest that comes on, and three members from one team say that I know him through this. The other person says I know him through this, and the other person says I know him through this. So the other team has to guess that which of the three people are telling the truth, which of the one actually knows him truly. So all these things are not that important. Just I wanted you to get acquainted with this part. So what happened in one certain episode is that Steve Davis, a former snooker champion, narrates a story of how he takes care of the mystery guest's pet. So certain animal is in question. It's not a regular pet, let me tell you that. It's a very unique kind of creature to be had as a pet, but I have given hints about the creature. So when he goes on holiday, Steve Davis takes care of its pet. What he does, Steve adds anecdotes about the pet as being a garden variety, having a shell and an undercarriage. Undercarriage is not a proper word, but that's the word he used, which is a body part. So imagine a creature usually found in gardens. There is a garden variety in its name as well. It has a shell and then a small soft body part. He also feeds it lettuce and occasionally dandelion leaves to that creature. At this point, Lee quips, or you should give him Frenchman as a revenge, leading to laughter and applause. Now, all I've asked you to do is explain this joke. Basically, what I mean is, so once you figure out this creature in question with a garden variety having a shell and an undercarriage, a small soft body part. Now, why would that joke work? Why he's feeding him dandelion and lettuce and feeding him all those things, all those grassy things. And Lee Mack, being a comedian, says you should give him, as in feed him Frenchman as a revenge. So the joke is in the irony. If you feed Frenchman to that creature, small creature, that would be a revenge. Why would that be a revenge? So obviously the Frenchman, right? You can join the dots here. Or French people gorge on something. So all I need is for this entire expression, you don't need to give me the expression. If you figured it out, just give me one proper noun. Because in this case, I do need one. Even though you figured it out and the funda and all, that's not what I'm looking for. So it's not in the question. So hear me out clearly for this question for all the teams. I need one proper noun. And I'm not only just telling you this as a hint. I need only and only that. If you don't give me that, then you won't get points for this question. Feed him, feed that creature, Frenchman, and that would be a revenge. Why would that be a revenge? And that would be a joke. So the Frenchman or the French people do something with this creature. Anybody having any difficulty in understanding the question or any doubt can ask me this again. I don't want the name of the creature as well. That also you have to figure out, which is pretty obvious. But once you have figured out, then think that why would Lee joke about it, that giving Frenchman as a revenge? Why would that be a revenge? Like, what do the Frenchmen do with this creature? And that would essentially form one proper noun. Should we wait on this for a while or should we move on? Question number 14. Guessing nobody has any doubts, so I'll move on to the next question. Right. So one proper noun is all I'm looking for in question 13. Here we come, question number 14. So more than 4 decades ago from today, John Gibbons, a herpetologist from the University of South Pacific, discovered the Fiji-crested iguana, a relatively new species, after traveling to the remote island of Nanua Levu. He decided to do so after being invited to a special screening of a film. He spotted this unfamiliar species pop up time and again in the film, part of which was filmed at that island. Which film am I talking about? So go back 4 decades and a few more years. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just a few more years, more than 4 decades. In that exact year, a certain film released, part of which was filmed in the Levu Island in Fiji. And this is actually a true fact that this creature only was discovered because of this film, because John Gibbons was invited to the screening of that film slightly more than 4 decades ago, actually. They want me to give you the exact year. Just say yes on mic. People want me to give you the exact year.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 1980. So just more than 4 decades means 4 decades and 2 years. So this is 2022. More people said it. Even if you said no, should have updated mic. It's fine. It's fine. 1980. So that was more or less obvious. A 1980 film is what I'm looking for. Where the Fiji crested iguana was first spotted by John Gibbons. Do you want more hint, or are there people blocking? Even if people are blocking or wants more
Block.
Okay. Fine. So just needed the film. So I'll move on to question number 15. This is the last of the 1-pointer, question number 15. From then we'll start the 2-pointers. Here comes question number 15. Just a second. Right. Again, another reference question from the series. So BoJack Horseman is an animated comedy series where a humanoid horse is lost in a sea of self-loathing and booze. The show ends in a fitting manner, where BoJack and Diane are seated atop a roof, catching up with each other. In this very last episode, Diane gives an update on her life, where her boyfriend had asked her to move with him to Houston, which she initially refused. She, however, changed her mind and decided to move there due to the extreme harsh and cold winters in her current city. I'll explain about that city. That is the second para, is what it's all about. So the current city is around 1082 miles north from Houston, which also enabled her to be with her boyfriend. So if she had moved, it would have enabled her to be with her boyfriend. The harsh winters of the city, and the Tom Cruise part will also be explained later, were also previously shown in the show when Diane initially moved there with her boyfriend. Her frustration about the cold kept building, and this led her to make a rather heated remark, heated in inverted comma, to BoJack, saying, "I am on team cow here." What is Diane referring to by that remark? Now, let me explain the question and then ask if any hints are required or not. So basically, Diane, the show takes place in California. So Diane was in California, but then she moves to a certain city with her boyfriend. His name, I don't remember here. Certain, again, animatronic character. But from there, while the show progresses, her boyfriend again moves to Houston, and he asks her, come with me to Houston, which she refuses. But then she realizes the cold is so much in the city where she lives, not in California, the city where she initially moved to from California, which is 1082 miles north from Houston. She wasn't able to bear it. Now the Tom Cruise also narrated a story of shooting for Color of Money, the Martin Scorsese movie Color of Money, and facing the harsh winters there. Now all I wanted to do is figure out the city from here, and then some incident that involves a cow. If you know the history, I am on team cow here. Now I was asked by some who I have asked to review to mention the year here. I will not, but I will still give you a year, a ballpark of the year or the timeline, only if people want it. So I'm not, you have to clear it out. Is it vague enough, or do you want hint for the timeline to figure out what exactly I am referring to? Did you say block or something? I didn't hear.
Yes, block.
Right. So I wasn't gonna, but it was one block. I'm anyways not gonna say the year, but I might say something which is required. So again, figure out the city. Extremely cold city in winters. Winters get very cold, but you can find more cities like that. If you have seen the show, it's very obvious. Even if you haven't, it's 1,082 miles north from Houston. Tom Cruise also shot here for Color of Money. So Color of Money, the plot of Color of Money would also give you that city. That city and Team Cow. Like Team Cow here is a very heated, is also in inverted comma. Put all these things together. And okay, I won't give you an exact year, but it's more than a century ago. So that's what I anyways wanted to say, irrespective of anyone is talking about. Whatever the answer is, happened more than a century ago from today. Now, more than a century ago can mean a lot of things, but that's the only thing I can guide you. We all know about that incident, but we didn't know a lot of them. Somebody's joining in now. Again, anybody who's joined in, I'll do a rerun, try to get the answers then. I'll go slow for the first 7-8 questions actually, not all this. Sorry about that. So yeah, but still attempt it. Yeah, so put the cow part. The cow is one of the legend states, which is why Diane made a very heated and a controversial remark, I might say, but it's a very like a risque comedy show, so it's fine. Figure out the city, see the inverted comma, heated remark, and I am on Team Cow here. Put all those things together. And also the fact that she's actually irritated, frustrated that it's so cold. She actually says, I get it. I'm on Team Cow here. But on perspective, in reality, it would have been a very bad thing to say, but it works as a joke, a very serious, risky joke. So she's cold, she's feeling very cold, and she's saying, I'm on Team Cow here. What did the cow do? Again, another question slightly based on joke. And something more than a century ago is what I already said. Right? Is it clear? So we'll move to question number 16. Please note that question 16 to question 20 are 2 pointers. So a total of 25 points in the prelims. Right, question number 16 coming up. Now I'll come to the image in the next slide. Shown here is a snippet from a 2018 South Asian computer animated film directed by Uzair Zahir Khan. The movie sheds light on the illegal hunting of wildlife and went on to garner largely positive reviews. Set in the northern regions of the country, the story follows a young and mischievous boy along with 3 main animal characters. While one is Hero, a chukar partridge, which is a bird, the other is Mehru, the national animal of the country in which this movie is made. What animal is Mehru, whose screw horns are yet to develop, screw horns in inverted comma, quite possibly due to her relatively young age in the film? Which country is this film from? Or Mehru is the national animal of which country? Now there is a third animal in the film, which is not shown in the image but shown in the film, possibly to highlight it being an endangered species and its presence in those northern regions. It is also the national animal of a neighboring country. Neighboring country as in the country, whichever country we are talking about, in which this movie is made, starring Mehru and Hero, a neighboring country to this country. Right? So another animal features, which is the national animal of a country which is neighbor to this country, whose national animal is Mehru. So Mehru gave me the country whose national animal is Mehru and the third animal. So here is the image. So this is an animated film, an Asian animated film, South Asian. Look at the child's wardrobe. Big hint. You can directly figure out the country. Maybe it might give you more than one option, but it will surely narrow it down. The yellow one is Mehru. If you just know the name and if you ever search it or have seen it, this is not what it looks like, but it's possibly the young age of that creature is shown in the film and a female creature. plus giving it a little bit of a glamoury look for the film. So you don't see the screw horns, which is what is there in the question. This is the chukar party. So there is another creature. So once you have figured out Meheru and the country, which creature is Meheru. By the way, I want the name of Meheru, like which animal. So that animal has a name. I want that name, not any other description.
Can you go back to the question?
Yeah. I'm not concerned about the chukar partridge in the image. Just remember the image of Meheru. 3 parts. There are 3 sections in your Google Sheets form. Fill all 3. The point system works like you get all 3 correct, 2 points. Any 2 correct, 1 point. Any 1 correct, half point. For any 3-pointer. I mean, any 3-parted question, basically. You get all 3 correct, 2 point. Any 2 correct, 1 point. Any 1 correct, half point.
Can you repeat the order of the questions, please? I mean, which blank is the first question, which is the second and third?
Yeah, so first question is the first one, Meheru. So what animal is Meheru? That would be the first one. Which country is this from? Meheru, or is the national animal? Which country is the second one? And the third one is there is a third animal in the film, which is not in the image, not in the text as well. But the description is helpful enough. If you figure out the country and the animal properly, think of a neighboring country, and that neighboring country's national animal is this. It also highlights the fact that that's an endangered species and its presence is in those northern regions. Both these countries that I'm talking about have northern hilly regions where these animals roam around. I'm not giving any hints.
Right.
So, right. And I said all 3 parts would get you 2 points. Any 2-part correct, 1 part wrong. There's no negative anyways. You all know that. So would get you 1 point. Any 1 part correct will get you half point. Should I move to the image one more time and then I'll come back and then we'll move to the next question. Let's focus on this creature in yellow. The backdrop is also helpful, if I'm being honest. But the wardrobe of that boy is very, very helpful. There's a name of the director in the question. Right, so I'll move to the question. 10 more seconds and then move to question number 17. Right, question number 17. It is one of the several breeds of hairless dogs which is characterized by its wrinkles, dental abnormalities, which is also caused by the same variant gene that causes hairlessness, and primitive temper. Named after a god, if you have followed the Zephyr semifinals, this god was also asked in that semifinals of Zephyr and pronounced as, I will not pronounce it. So you pronounce it in your mind. This dog has seen a resurgence in recognition in recent years, with none more responsible for it than a pop culture representation in 2017, where it was very appropriately named Dante. So 2017, and the appropriate part I'll later on explain it. That is not required for you to figure out any part of the answer, but it would seem very interesting that it's actually very appropriately named Dante. Maybe somebody in some other quiz can ask this, but what was it named? If you figure out the pop culture representation I'm talking about in 2017. Now, here's the question. This breed of dog is also depicted in several of these artists' work, who also incidentally had a cameo in the same 2017 pop culture context. Right? Which artist? Where in pop culture did we see this? Now, the third part is a little bit of an explanation, but again, you don't have to give me the vague words, the filler words. Try to keep it short and give me the crisp words, the key words. So the question is, many rheumatism and arthritis patients keep them as pets as they claim that it has healing properties. So many people keep them as pets, but there is a special reason for rheumatism and arthritis patients to keep them as pets. So imagine rheumatism and arthritis patients, what do they suffer from? And these dogs have a special feature. So that part, a little bit you have to figure out from the dog and the which dog am I talking about? And if you figure that out, that in itself will help them. Or you can do the reverse as well. If rheumatism or arthritis patients suffer from something, what is generally suggested to them? Let me help you a little bit there. As a pain relief, they suffer from a lot of pain, right? So as a pain relief, what is generally suggested to people of rheumatism and arthritis, even us generally, if we get hurt and after, not initially, but later on, initially you will give an ice block or something. But don't focus there, that would be too vague now. Just rheumatism and arthritis patients, keep them as pets because they claim it has healing properties. So they hold them basically. Now I have given you most part as to what to write in the third part. You just have to figure out the key words, the key part of the dogs that help the rheumatism and arthritis patient. And the 2017 pop culture context, even the name, if you pronounce it, and then imagine what could its spelling be, that would give you a country. And then I think the artist and the pop culture context should be obvious. So both those will get you 1 point, or any two parts will get you 1 point, and the third part, including the third part, will get you 2 points. By the way, in the Zephyr semifinals, this the dog wasn't asked. The dog is named after a dog, a god. The name of that god was asked. Do you want a hint? I can, like, from that semifinal, whatever I can remember, and give you a hint from that god. But I think the name I have pronounced here as well, so that should be obvious. Do you want a hint?
So it's fine.
Did you say something?
Yes, please.
Right. So I don't know how much it will help, but it will only help you figuring out the god. So the god, there is also a salamander from that same country, if I'm not wrong, which is also named the same. Like they all have the same root name. So this dog, the god, see the pronunciation. I would rather just see the pronunciation. And the salamander has the same root name, but more importantly, see the pronunciation. Okay, for the popular representation, I don't think a hint is required, but from there you can figure out other things. So I'll tell you this. The appropriately named Dante part. What did Dante do? The real life historical figure Dante. What is he famous for? Where did he go? Think about that and try to connect that with the pop culture. Where did Dante go with Virgil? Think about that and try to connect it with 2017 pop culture. So that's why that dog was appropriately named Dante. Which artist? Where in pop culture did we see this? And the rheumatism arthritis part is completely slightly disconnected from that. Actually, completely disconnected. Just that they kept them as pets because rheumatism arthritis patients said they have healing properties. They got pain relief basically. Some feature about this dog. Right. So I'll move on to next question. I'll also have to do a rerun later on. So. Right.
Tanmay, one thing. I mean, I still didn't get the first two questions, which is the artist and the pop culture. I mean, is there a link, like Dante is linked to this artist, or how? Can you please explain?
Oh, you didn't get it as you're asking hints. I thought you didn't get the question or anything. Yeah, so I said
I think
Dante.
question, yeah.
Yeah, so 2017 is there. The pronunciation of the dog is there. The dog's pronunciation is also, it gets its name from a god. From all of those things, I'm also giving you a hint that a salamander also gets its name from the same god. So all of that will slightly, if you just run your knowledge, will get the country. That country is very much integral to the artist. Like obviously the artist belongs to that country. And the 20th pop culture context. It's a, okay, let me at least clarify that it's a movie.
I got the country. So, I mean, I'm not getting the relation between the dog, the country, and the artist.
That should be obvious. I cannot do anything. If you got the country, you should get the artist and the pop culture. I don't need the dog at any point of time. Right? So 2017, a dog was there. That dog's breed is this, and it's named Dante. Because remember where Dante, the real historical figure, Dante went. So this 2017 movie also has thematic similarities to that place actually, in some way. So that's where it's appropriately named. And the third part I've explained whatever you have to write. Right. So we'll move on to the next question quickly. Okay, again, several things to figure out. Takechi Nishi in the pair happens to be the only man from his country till date to achieve the topmost prize in a certain category or field he took part in. His glory came during the height of Great Depression in a country against which he would later go into battle. So later he would go into battle against this country, but in that country only during the Great Depression, he went there and he achieved a certain glory. That glory happens to be the only glory his country boasts of in that certain discipline. Right? So figure that part out in your mind. Now, precisely a dozen years later, this battle would take his life when he was an officer stationed in the defense of the island dash dash. Blanks are indicative. Such was his importance in the battle that his character would later be reprised in a 2006 Clint Eastwood film. I don't want the film, but if you know the film, you should get the island name. What precise glory and where? So when I say what precise glory and what, it's one part only, but write it everything. There's a year, there's a place, and something in that. The image should give you the discipline I'm talking about. If you figure out the larger context in which he appeared, it is the height of Great Depression in a country against which. So from there, you can figure out what was happening in that country in the height of Great Depression, where somebody can take part in. Think of the phrase take part in or participate in. Any queries or anything you can ask on mine? Read the question again. I have purposefully disguised the larger whatever was happening in which he won his glory in his particular discipline. I want the discipline as well. I want the discipline to place in what larger event, because you can figure out the country from the first paragraph if you read carefully, and the timeline also helps. The height of Great Depression. And besides all of that, I've deliberately given this image. You can see an animal there. You can see an animal there. So this is an animal's quiz. If you figure out some event, always keep the category of quiz in mind.
So may I know what is the like there are two questions, right, which is asked 18A and 18B. So the first one, 18A is the fill in the blank, is it?
No, 18B is the fill in the blank. So always it goes ascending order, right? 18A, write that entire glory.
Okay.
Like the year, the country, what was happening, the event or whatever was largely happening, and his discipline as well. That should be obvious after you figured out all of them. So you have to write it in a sentence like that. That he won dash 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 the year, the country, the event, and the discipline. That happens to be the only achievement in that discipline achieved by his country. His country also should be. So there are hints for every part to figure out. But yeah, none of the part are given directly. One thing will lead to another. Are you guys all done? Should I move on to the next question? Right. So question number 19 coming up. Right. So this is an Academy Award question. Of all the movies that went on to win the Academy Award for Best Film, several of them have an animal name in its title. By animal name, I again mean common noun. I haven't found a proper noun of an proper name of an animal in it. Even if there is, that doesn't matter here. However, which is the only set of two movies that went on to win the Oscar for Best Film in back-to-back years and both having an animal's name, again the common noun, in its title. I've given a big hint. While both those animals are mammals, one is an apex predator and the other is a quarry. Now, an animal that is pursued by predators or hunters. Now, it's not important that if the animals literally play an important part or not, or the films you have watched, nothing. Just go through all the Academy Award movies in your mind, the best film category, right? And think of all the films in back-to-back years. So there are only two films in the history of Academy Award for Best Film category, which have won the best film back-to-back years, and both have an animal name in its title, a common name, like a hen or something. Hen is not there in the answer still. Which two films am I talking about? Two films, 2 points. The order doesn't matter. In this case, for all those people asking there are two blanks, the order doesn't matter. I mean, usually you should give me the first film that won the Oscar, then the next year, the next film, but that doesn't matter. Give me two correct names of two films, you get 2 points. Right? One is an apex predator, like the one animal in one of the movie that is an apex predator. The other animal in another movie title is actually a quarry that is hunted by apex predators and also by humans. And the last question of the quiz coming up. So Ellen Coombs is a PhD doctorate at University of London and a museum scientist at the National History Museum, London. She sheds light on a matter that has piqued scientists for some time. She thus provided an answer to the query by determining the correct gender for a certain group, supported by scientific, behavioral, and natural study. She classified them as females, since it is exceptional to this species, among all others in the family Cervidae, for its females to develop these extensions. After mating season in autumn, they are usually pregnant in winter, and thus these extensions help them to protect themselves and their unborn from predators in the cold, snowy environments where they live. Furthermore, males usually get rid of theirs in autumn. This solidifies the above hypothesis. Which groups a cube number? The number is not part of the, if you give me the correct answer, that is also a name, like there are proper noun in it, like more than one. And then the creature in question, the group of the creature. But there is no number in the answer, but it's just the number of creatures that are there in that. If you give me that precise answer, that is a cube number. Keep that in mind. So which group's gender has thus been identified? Now, for the second part, in which Robert Zemeckis movie from this century did the feature with one scene showing a herd blocking a train? The train in inverted commas. Read the first, second, third paragraph, mainly the third paragraph. First and second is only setting the one word in the second paragraph helps, but mainly the third paragraph. So this is again nothing to do with reality, but researchers have been done to figure out whether they are males or females, and it has come up time and again that they are females. And this they, whichever number of people, the creatures form the they, that's a cube number.
Hey, are there three parts to this question?
No, two parts. Which group's gender has this matter? Again, that part has an answer that is not one or two or any word, but few words. Write it down, which is a very specific answer. Somebody can mute yourself, please. Yeah. And the second part is a Robert Zemeckis movie. Robert Zemeckis directed movie from this century, the 21st century. One scene showing a herd blocking a train. The train is in inverted comma. Stay for around less than a minute here. and then I'll do a quick rerun. Right, so that's it. So we'll just quickly do a rerun. We'll quickly do a rerun, and then you can submit the form. Give you a few minutes to submit all the form. So for those who missed the first few questions, so India, the name and the region does find its mention in the Old Testament Bible. So some of them are in the Esther 1:1 and 8:9. But what I'm looking for is certain professionals of India were employed by Antiochus III the Great. And this is the reason in Maccabees 6:37, we find the name India in the Old Testament Bible.
Sorry, मेरा
I just
audio
want who
चला
were
गया.
this.
What happened? Oh.
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear
Third
me?
is Steve Irwin.
Can everybody hear me? Somebody can respond. I'm not able to say that if you can
Yes,
hear me
yes,
or
we
not.
can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Right. So who were these Indian professionals? Antiochus III the Great actually employed these professionals for his war efforts. I just want one word. Who were these professionals? Right. Question number 2. So Top Gun Maverick is equal to Top Gun in Top Gun, which is in 1986. So in Top Gun, I'm quickly shortening the question. Lieutenant Nick Bradshaw had a certain call sign. His son in the new movie has the call sign Rooster. But if we go by nomenclature laws of the nature, given his father's call sign, which is Nick Bradshaw's call sign, what more appropriate call sign should have been of Lieutenant Bradley Bradshaw, played by Miles Teller? Now, this call sign is also the surname, not a first name, of a famous Hollywood star. So that one word is all I'm looking for. Right? Question number 3. Whose face is hidden here? Everything you need to figure out about this person is there in the image. The image helps a lot. Okay, question number 4 coming up. Visualizing things incorrectly due to acute alcohol intoxication or withdrawal, a 3-worded expression. Which expression is this? The expression was, although first came in the book John Barleycorn, it was popularized years later by a Disney film. Which film? Which expression in which film? Fine, half and half. Nutcrackers are used to crack nuts, but a certain version, the liver version, are used actually for a different purpose. Right? The name cracker is also there, but for a different purpose, and 2 names are required essentially. I will give you the full 1 point, and whatever that is, that makes it automatically makes it eligible for an animals quiz. What is it? For what purpose do we use nutcrackers besides cracking nuts? The liver version specifically. Right? Yes, I'm just waiting for the ones who missed out on their first unit, but please still try to be quick. Question number 6. So in friends, Monica and Chen are looking for someone to write them a letter of recommendation. So they ask Rachel. Rachel says no. Not Rachel says no. Somebody else gets offended and says, "I will do it." So that person isn't able to write it. He uses a thesaurus. So on every single word. So they are warm, nice people with big hearts become they are humid, pre-possessing Homo sapiens with full erotic pumps. He also used the thesaurus on his signature. So he wrote his name and his surname, but his name, when put in the thesaurus, when seated synonym in the thesaurus, gave the 2 blanks. And again, keep the quiz in mind. What could this be? This is not Ross, Monica, Rachel, or Chandler. There are 2 other friends left. One of them. Who could it be? I don't want the name of that friend though. But think about the name of that friend, and he put it in thesaurus while writing his signature. And this is what happened. I just want the blanks here, both the blanks actually. Right? So the horse finds its occurrence in Rig Veda. On one occasion, the horse of Lord Indra has been described as "Come hither, Indra, with bay steeds, joyous with tails like dashes dash." What are those blanks alliterated? That is also a beautiful sight one might come across in nature. So whatever that is, the first blank, the creature, its other gender, the feminine gender, also finds metaphorical usage in Rig Veda, but this time with respect to women. That I don't want. I just want that creature and something about that creature. Like if you give me that exact name of that something, whichever way it's described, that would be alliterated. But that is also described in other words as well. Fine. I just want the alliterative blanks. Unicorn is a very important symbol in this film. So this was after the director learned that there are several unicorn seals that were discovered from this place. So within the film, the protagonist actually receives a seal with a unicorn inscription from his uncle before setting out on a destination to trade their family's goods. He often has dreams of a unicorn, and on reaching there, he realizes that it is a symbol of the city with which he feels oddly familiar. So at the end of the film, when the city is drowned and no more, and the survivors migrate to another river, the protagonist sees a unicorn again and names the river Ganga. Which film from half a decade ago am I talking about?
Last time you said that you would give the hint of the year. Can you share that now?
I would give the
Hint of the year in which the film was made.
I said half a decade ago. I said loosely half a decade ago. It's like 5 years, go 5 years back from today. So whichever year you come, 1 year before that or 1 year after that. So it's from 2016, 2017. I'm not specifying it any further because eventually I believe people will blow. Question number 4. Please don't, you can say it on mic in the end. I am not checking the chat all the time. Wait a second. Wait a second. Oh, shit. 1 second. Question number 4, quickly. Right, so the euphemism, what expression, a 3-worded expression in which film? That's all I'm looking for. I'm moving forward. It's a 2016 or a 2017 film. That much I can say. Anyways, question 9. So look at the beak of this bird. The name of this bird actually, the Greeks named a certain body part, a certain anatomical structure after this bird. And today in English, we know it as a certain name, which is named after this bird because the last 3-4 bones of that structure resembles the shape of the beak of this bird. Which bird am I talking about? Sorry, which structure am I talking about? The name of the structure, one name would do. Right. So now we'll move quickly because after this, I think everybody else. So Frances Cunningham Finch was a lady. In what manner did Frances Cunningham Finch's youngest daughter pay her tribute, including her in a nominal sense? In what manner did her daughter, youngest daughter, pay her tribute? That also is something that has a lasting impact, probably the most famous. She was found dead, and Smithsonian Institution's most treasured possessions. Today, it's a taxidermy mount. Think of two characters, major characters from DC, who have the same mother, well, not the same mother, the same mother name, right? So, which species am I talking about? Another alliterative name, and what name is this? Same as the DC characters' moms. Which creature is this? How did the country bring worldwide attention to this animal? Which creature is this? Just the one name would do. The entire name consists of a numerical part in it and a country's name in it. You don't have to give me that. Just give me the creature's name and the country. How did the country bring worldwide attention to this? Just a little bit of a description there, like a few words. So in Would I Lie to You, there is a certain creature which is a pet, a garden variety. It has a shell, it has an undercarriage, a soft undercarriage body. It is fed lettuce and occasionally dandelion leaves, but Lee quips that you could give him Frenchman as a revenge. Please give him Frenchman as a revenge. Why does that joke work? So it's an ironical joke. The Frenchman actually got this on that. So I want one proper noun. What is that? Which film, which 1980 film that led to the discovery of this creature, the Fiji crested iguana? So what is Diane referring to here? A very, very cold city, harsh winters. Tom Cruise also suffered the harsh winters of a city for Color of Money, 1,082 miles north from Houston. And she said a very heated remark, I am on team cow here, which is not a very good thing to say, but it works as a very risky joke on the show. But she's referring to something from more than a century ago. What is that? Right, so the snippet here is this. Identify this creature, the national animal of a country, the country in which this film is made. So the northern parts of this country and its neighboring country has another animal. That animal is the national animal of the neighboring country. Right? So I want three parts. The name of this animal, the country in which this movie is made, or this animal is the national animal of which country, and the other animal. That's all I want. Right? Moving on to question number 17. Where in pop culture did we see this? Which artist and where in pop culture did we see this? So many rheumatism arthritis patients keep them as pets as they claim that it has healing properties. How? Three parts, all three parts together will get you 2 points. The last question as well. Dante is the name of the dog. You can pronounce the name of the dog in your head. I also said it featured in his defense as the god's name, and it is also the A certain salamander also gets its name from it. What precise glory am I talking about and where? So the country name, the year, what was happening, and how did he attain the glory, which happens to be his country's only glory till date, and which island am I talking about? His character would also be represented 2006 Clint Eastwood film.
Can you quickly show 17 again?
Right? Question 19.
For question
Two
18,
movies.
do you also
Yeah.
need a year in which the glory was attained?
Yeah. Because the kind of event this is, the year has to be known by you. I don't think if you figure everything out, the year is anyways or the other. I need the year. Yeah. I cannot specify further that what kind of this is, but I need the year. Definitely. It's the height of Great Depression that time. But that would only give you a few years. But from there, if you figure out, put all the things together, you'll get the year and the event. And his discipline is so obvious from the picture. And he got the highest glory. So that thing also, to write that wouldn't be that difficult, I guess. What would be the highest glory to figure everything works out? Right, question 19 coming up. Two movies. I won't spend too much time here. One has an apex predator and one has a quarry, which is an animal that is pursued by predators and hunters. Name both films and get 2 points. And question number 20 is this. Which group's gender has thus been identified? Right, so it's 5:43 now. By 5:45, I'll stop collecting responses. You still have 2 minutes. Since I'm the only one here, so I'll have to keep it this way.
Can you quickly show question 4?
Question 4 I've showed twice actually.
Just one last time.
I'll be very quick. So it's 5:44. I'm actually closing the time in 5:45.
Excuse me, can you show question 19 once again?
One second. Is it still steering? Yeah, this is the last time showing anything because then I'll only have to close it. I'll keep it on 19 actually. Yes, there's nothing here. Two movies, back-to-back years. Anyone left, please submit it right now. It's less than 30 seconds left. I'll have to close it immediately. It's 5:45 and I'll close it. Don't go anywhere. After that, I will only display the answers. You can say it on mic then.
Closed.
Yeah. Just 1 second. Just give me 1 second actually. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody submitted the sheets. I've just closed the responses actually. Right. So if anybody hasn't submitted, so sorry about that. I closed in 5:48 actually. So just hold back 5 more minutes. I'll display the answer. Let me share it again. And then and then tomorrow would be the answers. So 1 second. Yeah. So everybody can say it on mic here. So we start with the answers in this slide itself. So the first one is,
Elephant trainers.
yeah, the one word would be, elephant trainers is correct. That would give you.
Is
Mahouts is what I was looking for. Yeah, Mahouts it is. Second one. Anyone?
Gosling.
Cockerel.
Gosling. So Goose was the name of the call sign of Nick Bradshaw in the first film. So it would be Gosling. Whose face is hidden?
Ernest Hemingway.
Ernest Hemingway.
Hemingway it is. This is The Old Man and the Sea, a reference to Old Man and the Sea. He's posing with a marlin, many marlins. What is this? What expression? Anybody?
Seeing pink elephants.
Pink elephants.
And what would the film be then?
Dumbo.
Yes, this is Seeing Pink Elephants and Dumbo, of course. And what would this be? Two names are required, mainly for those two we use it.
Claw cracker.
Cracking the shells of crabs and lobsters.
Yeah, so
Crabs and lobster is what I was looking for. Crabs and lobster. Cracking the shells of crabs and lobster. Question number 6. Who is the friend in question?
Joey,
Joey. So what does a Joey mean?
baby kangaroo.
Baby kangaroo.
Baby kangaroo it is. This is a baby kangaroo triviani. So Joey is a baby kangaroo. This is a baby kangaroo triviani. What is this? Quite simple actually. Anybody?
Peacock's plumes.
Peacock's plumage.
This is peacock's plumes. Peacock's plumes finds its feature many times in Rig Veda.
We wrote peacock's plumage. Will that work?
Yeah, peacock's plumes would work. That's it. That is only the answer actually. This one, question 8.
Mohenjo-daro.
Mohenjo-daro, as simple as that. This is Mohenjo-daro. The film Mohenjo-daro. What is this? What structure, anatomical structure is this? Anybody?
Spinal column.
Coccyx.
No. Yes. Somebody was saying the right answer.
Coccyx.
Coccyx.
Vertebra.
Coccyx it is. This is the coccyx from ancient Greek for cuckoo. This is the coccyx. Anybody? What would this be?
He wrote the story. Kill a Mockingbird.
This is
How did she immortalize? That is what I wanted for the full.
Harper Lee named the character Atticus Finch after Francis Finch.
The family name Finch. The family name Finch is there. Atticus Finch, Jem Finch, Scout Finch. In To Kill a Mockingbird is a way Harper Lee is tribute to her mother's maiden surname. So the family name Finch is what I was looking for in To Kill a Mockingbird. Only To Kill a Mockingbird will get you half point. What species and what name?
Oh, this is passenger pigeon. I think it was
Yes.
Martha.
Martha. Superman's and Batman's mother's names are Martha, and this name was Martha. So this is passenger pigeon and Martha. Which animal is this?
Armadillo.
How?
Rio Olympics mascot. Rio Olympics mascot.
Answer. Not Rio Olympics mascot. The FIFA World Cup mascot in Brazil. 2014 FIFA World Cup mascot in Brazil. Fuleco. Fuleco would be the name I was looking for. But fine, if you give me mascot for 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil, that will also get you the second half of the point. Anybody? The one name I'm looking for.
Snails are a popular delicacy in French cuisine.
This is escargot.
Escargot. Snails are a popular delicacy, all is fine, but I only wanted escargot. I explained that in the question itself, at least when I read the question. Escargot is what I was looking for. French people eat escargot, where snail is the main delicacy there. Which movie?
Blue Lagoon.
Brilliant answer. This is Blue Lagoon. This is Blue Lagoon, 1980 film. Anybody? What did a cow start? Which city?
Chicago
Yes.
Bulls.
This is the Great Fire of Chicago. Mrs. O'Leary's cow allegedly knocked over a lantern and started the fire. Diane actually lived in Chicago, and the movie Color of Money was also shot in Chicago. So this is the Great Fire of Chicago in 1871. Okay, what animal is Meheru? Its name means snake eater. I didn't say that then. Anybody? No
So
one?
a
Okay,
mountain.
what country is this?
It's
It's Pakistan. Pakistan is the national.
Marco, right?
Markhor and Pakistan, and the other animal is snow leopard. So snow leopard is the national animal of Afghanistan. So the movie is Alahar and the Legend of Markhor. So this is Markhor, Pakistan, and snow leopard. These three will get you
Does
2 points.
Himalayan goat
altogether.
count because Marco is called the Himalayan goat?
No, Meheru is specifically
Any points for
Markhor.
mountain
That's
goats?
a different one. No. Mountain goats is completely different. This is Markhor, only Markhor. Point for Markhor. Okay, which artist and where in pop culture? First, let's get this two.
Diego
What is the
Rivera.
dog?
Coco. The
Not
dog.
Diego Rivera.
Sir, Frida Kahlo.
Diego Rivera is a good guess, but Diego Rivera did not have a cameo in the 2017 context.
Frida Kahlo.
Kahlo.
Frida Kahlo, and the pop culture it is
Sir, Coco.
in Dante goes to hell with Virgil. In Coco is actually sent to the afterworld, or in a way the representation of not the hell, but after dead wherever you go. So that's where the dog was named Dante. So this is Frida Kahlo and Coco. Frida Kahlo and Coco. Anybody for the second part? Guys, anybody for the second part? Somebody can mute who is saying Aro. Nobody? For the second part? Anybody wants to take a shot? Should I move on?
The dog's body temperature is higher, so which relieves the patient. of the
Yeah,
pain.
these dogs are actually very renowned for exerting an enormous amount of heat. That much would do. Their bodies generate an enormous amount of heat. So enormous amount of heat or higher body temperature or very, very hot or warm dogs will do. That actually helps rheumatism and arthritis patients because they get relieved of their pain by acting as canine eaters. What precise glory? The year, the place, everything. Anybody?
Gold medal in
Gold medal in
show
show jumping in Olympics in 1928.
Show jumping or not, if it's called, I have to check. It's equestrian actually, but show jumping might be considered. I'll check it and tell you. But yeah, not in 1928. 1928 was in Amsterdam. This is not against
32.
the Dutch.
1932.
1932. This is the 1932 LA Olympics. Gold medal in equestrian. This remains Japan's only Olympic gold medal in equestrian till date. And the second part?
Iwo Jima.
Iwo Jima.
Iwo Jima. It is letters from Iwo Jima. Clint Eastwood film. Question 19. Anybody? The two movies?
Lion King.
Not Lion King. Lion King.
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of
And-
Lamb and
Dances of Wolves.
And
Brilliant answer. Dances with Wolves came out first, and Silence of the Lambs it is. The Dances of Wolves and Silence of the Lambs. And the last question coming up. What am I talking about? Which group am I talking about?
Polar Bear.
No, not like that. Some
Reindeers.
Santa Claus,
Reindeers.
Reindeers, and Polar Express.
Santa Claus's reindeers and one second,
Polar
the second
Express.
part.
Polar Express.
This is Santa's reindeers are female. That's what I wanted, and the Polar Express. That's what I'm talking about. So that was it. Thank you all. I hope everybody submitted. I got 26 responses, so I hope everybody submitted. So we'll check it. We'll go through, and some way or the other, we'll let you know tomorrow. Stay in the group. Top 8 teams will play the mains tomorrow. Join in for the mains. If not selected, please watch the mains. You can watch the audience. Thank you. Yeah.
If we just mentioned reindeers instead of Santa's reindeers, will we get points?
No. Because it's a specific group. I wanted Santa's reindeers. We'll see to it if it comes to a tiebreaker. But the reason for the entire description expression was that these are Santa's reindeers. That's what the hypothesis is. Reindeers to exist everywhere. Right. These are the specific Santa's reindeers are female. Right. So thank you everyone. I'll stop sharing now. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank
We'll
you.
have the results out by tomorrow morning. And if you're in the finals, yeah, please, we'll start at 5 sharp tomorrow. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.